Hello, Just Too Good here, back from another video, and today I'm continuing my thoughts on every single LEGO Star Wars set. Last video we left off with 2001, so now let's go on to 2002. And the first set of 2002 was the LEGO Star Wars Mini TIE Fighter. And this was the first LEGO Star Wars polybag, and one to include a miniature vehicle, which is the trend that you see with every LEGO Star Wars polybag nowadays, besides the promo bags, which include one minifigure. This one was of a TIE Fighter. Now, the difference between those and this one is that this one wasn't sold really at retail like you'd find at United States, like Targets and stuff like that. This was a promotional one, and the TIE Fighter itself only had 12 pieces, so definitely much smaller than what you expect from a small version of an iconic vehicle. Next up, we got the Jedi Duel. Now, this one is a set I actually have. I always liked that I had Sam Blue pieces, so I was always fine with his speeder bike. And also, I always loved the minifigures included because you got Count Dooku or Dooku, and you got Yoda, which getting Yoda in a set was awesome. That's why I got this set back in the day. And it was actually the first set to have Yoda, which is cool because it was only a $10 set, so you could easily get the iconic character of Yoda in this $10 set. Next up is the Tusken Raider encounter, another set I also had, or still have, and this came with Anakin and 2 Tusken Raiders, a water moisturizer, and a little speeder bike. And I mean, I don't have much of a problem with this set. It's actually a really good parts pack, and it's basically a battle pack from back then. Only $10, pretty darn good deal, and I always liked this set. I never really kept it built because back in the day I used to really not build sets and keep them built, but I would just take them apart and use their pieces. Like, I would not even attempt to build them. I would just dump them out and use the pieces to build my own stuff. Next up is a twin pod cloud car, which honestly, seeing how I got all these cheap sets back in the day, I think my mother got it, so I didn't really pay for it. But this was the last of those of these three 2002 Star Wars sets that were $10, and I never got this one, unfortunately, because this one I really want now because it comes with Lobot, who was a very interesting minifigure because he actually had back printing on his headpiece, even though his little technology piece should have went all around his head, but for accuracy, but they really just printed it on his back. And his face print was actually kind of interesting. And this is a vehicle that was never remade. I mean, they never made another twin pod cloud car, unfortunately. Next up is the Jedi Bounty Hunter Pursuit. Again, another type of vehicle that was never remade. And I always liked the minifigures of this one, but I never remembered this one from back in the day. I just really found out, I found out about this set like a few months ago. I was like, oh, I never seen this set before. But what we got here is Zam Wessel. I believe that's how you pronounce it. One of the female bounty hunters. Wish I got this minifigure, but she was never remade, unfortunately. So I hope we get a new version of her soon enough. I think they just need to start re-releasing Episode 2 stuff, because that's one movie that we get really not that much sets from. But that one was actually kind of a good set because it was $30 and you got some cool vehicles. Like, I always liked kind of the vehicle that Anakin and Obi-Wan are in. So yeah, pretty good set. And then next up we got the Ewok Attack, which was a $15 set. You got 2 Ewoks, which I think this is the first time we got these Ewok molds. So that's kind of cool. And you got a little clone, not a clone trooper, stormtrooper. And you got a little bit of speeder bikes and a scout trooper. So it was just a packed-in set for $15. So 4 minifigures, not bad. And you got the X-Wing fighter, really just a re-release of the original 1999 version, and a Jedi Starfighter, which this one was I don't know. We've gotten so many versions of this Obi-Wan's kind of Jedi Starfighter, and this one was kind of an okay set for the price. I mean, it's pretty accurate to how it appears in the movie, so I can't really complain about that. I just never liked the design of this Jedi Starfighter vehicle in general, so that's just me, though. Alright, also we got the re-release of the TIE Fighter and Y-Wing. I think they just changed the piece count just a tad bit, but yeah, nothing really different there. Jango Fett Slave 1. That's awesome to get Jango Fett Slave 1. I don't think we've never gotten another version of Jango Fett Slave 1 before. So this was really the only version. And the Jango Fett minifigure is, of course, really cool. I never really I never really got a minifigure of him. And what's cool is you got young Boba Fett as well in the set, which is another pretty rare minifigure that doesn't get re-released. I think he just got recently re-released in like an advent calendar or something. Then we got the Republic Gunship, the first iteration of that, but trust me, there were many more to come. This one, I don't know. What's really funny is that there was the Jedi Bob in there, as they called him, which was just a generic Jedi minifigure. And that was it. It was just a random Jedi minifigure, which has gathered quite a bit of a cult following in the recent years, just for that Jedi Bob minifigure. It was $90 and it was 693 pieces. So I mean, for the size of the vehicle, the piece count wouldn't really match up. But the size of the vehicle was okay, and it was a good representation, because this is when they really started to make some new moldings and stuff so that they could fit the accuracy of the sets to the movie counterparts. That's always good in my book. So next up, we got a sculpture of Yoda, which is pretty cool for what it was worth. You know, it was only $100, and you got this pretty nice statue that looked awesome on display. And actually, it was 1,075 pieces, which I find that a little bit hard to believe because it looks like it's a lot more. And you got the Final Duel Part 1, which I had back in the day, and I still do. And this was always cool because it came with Palpatine and it came with Vader. I was like, that's so awesome. And what's cool is you would use that to connect to the Final Duel Part 2, which both of them were $7, and then you would put them together and make this great scene, which I also had the Final Duel Part 2, and I actually think I got 2 of the Final Duel Part 2, which is quite awesome because both of them are great parts packs and just a very iconic scene altogether. And then I just found out these existed. I guess I really wasn't aware of the 2002 line so much because I didn't know they had Jedi Defense Part 1, which came with Destroyer Droids and Obi-Wan, and then Jedi Defense Part 2, which came with some battle droids and Qui-Gon, and then you would connect those and then have this great scene from Episode 1. Never knew those existed, but hey, that's kind of cool. And then we got a Technic R2-D2. I wish his head was more... Like, for these Technic sets, I wish they would have made more complete kind of head moldings, but maybe the molding machines weren't up to date with that, you know, like in terms of like what they can make. So that kind of makes me sad, but for the price, I mean, it was only like $20 for quite a cool kind of design of R2-D2, so don't mind it so much. And you got Darth Vader, which honestly I like this Darth Vader Technic design. He's actually really cool, and that was only about, let me see, it was $40, but still pretty cool design. And then you got Jango Fett. Actually, I really liked the Jango Fett as well. Not a bad design. And Super Battle Droid, not bad at all. So really, the only weak one of this wave was R2-D2. Right, gotta get comfy. All right, and you got the special edition Naboo Starfighter, which was basically like an alternate collector's series. And this one kind of had some silver or kind of chrome silver pieces, which was so cool. And I believe this goes for a lot of money now because of that. Excuse me. And then we got the Imperial Star Destroyer, which was $270, which is crazy. I can't believe it was that much, but because that is actually a lot less than I thought it would be, because that was for like 3,000 pieces, so that was actually a pretty good price back then, in my opinion. But it's funny because I say that now, but now the Naboo Starfighter I just checked is going for like $600 on eBay, so that's more expensive than the retail price, like almost 3 times more expensive than the retail price of that ISD. Then we got the R2-D2 C-3PO collector's set. This one actually came with the 2 most disappointing of both of those Technic waves, and it came with something else. It's like 25th anniversary something, which is crazy. That was the Star Wars 25th anniversary. And then we got Jango Fett's Slave 1 with a bonus cargo case, which was kind of a weird combo that they used to do this a lot in the day, where they would give you a set and then they would give you like a carrying case. I know they did that with like Oriental Expedition or something like that. Then Jabba's Message, we're moving right on to 2003, which is of course like that little part from Jabba's palace. And that was the first time with, I forgot the guy's name, but the little guy who's guarding the part. That's the first time we got that minifigure, but not the last. There you go, Bib Fortuna. And you also got C-3PO and R2-D2. Jabba's Prize, which came with the Gamorrean Guard, and Boba Fett and Han Solo in like a cheaper set. So those were kind of like the, I guess you could say, battle pack sets for that kind of wave, and they were both $7, which I'm sad I never got those. But I always used to look at them in the catalog and say like, hey, I want that, but I never got them. The T-16 Skyhopper, such a peculiar vehicle that was never really re-released until 2015. The Geonosian Fighter, which this was the first appearance of those Geonosian kind of minifigures, and we recently got them as a Clone Wars versions, but they look so much better. And I actually like the design of the Clone Wars versions compared to a lot of the other Clone Wars minifigures, because they look really darn cool. But these, their heads are a little bit too stubby. Then we got the TIE Bomber, which was, I don't think we've gotten another TIE Bomber, but I might be wrong. We'll see later on as I continue these videos, and that came with a TIE Fighter pilot as well, and it was about $30. Jabba's palace, which I always used to look at this one in the catalog and be like, I want this so much, and I don't know, I just never got it. First appearance of Slave Leia, first appearance of Jabba, and actually that little droid, I forgot what it was called. That's the first. I mean, it's like called Eve, I think, or something, Evie or something. That's the only time she's ever come in a set, so that's quite interesting. And actually, it's the only time that you've seen what they're using is a minifigure head upside down for the build, which is the only time that's ever happened in LEGO history as an official like minifigure. Then we got the Hellfire droid. I never really liked Hellfire droids. Don't like this one. You guys can see a review of the most recent one on my channel. Then we got the ATTE. Never liked this build, and I actually have one of these too. And I mean, it's pretty faithful for what it is. It's actually not like it's the last one we got was a little bit more expensive than this one, but I mean, they're both kind of, in my eyes, they're both just the same to me. And then we got the AT-AT, the first AT-AT, and the first AT-AT was actually $100, cheaper than the most recent one. To me, always like these. I mean, the most recent one is basically more stable than this one, but they both kind of look the same from the outside. It's one vehicle that they really did work right the first time it was released, right around. But I heard a lot of problems with the stability and stuff like that. And you got some miniature sets, which they actually had, like they had that one polybag from the last one, but then they started releasing actual wide release miniature sets, and I don't think they sold well because they stopped doing this trend recently, or like not recently, but like a year after. This was about $4. You got an X-wing fighter and a TIE Advanced, Sebulba and Anakin's pod racers, an ATST and a snowspeeder. You got a Jedi Starfighter and a Slave One. Then you got a Millennium Falcon, which this one was more expensive. It's actually $7, and I always like that the printed pieces on here. And then you got the AT-AT, which was $7 as well. Not very interesting. And then you also got the Republic Gunship. Sorry, there's too many debates going on. And the MTT. Then we got the most amazing Cloud City. Another one I used to look in the catalog and be like, hey, I want that set, Mom, and she would never get it for me. Because back then, it was too expensive, and then when we went back to get it, it was out of stock. $100 and always amazing. I like back in the day, I used to drool over this set and never got it. And they never released another Cloud City, and I hope they do in summer 2016, but we'll have to wait and see. Basically had the carbon freezing chamber, which we're getting a new one of that this or next year. It's the first appearance of like a different color minifigure with Lando Calrissian, which is awesome. And it's really weird because we got yellow minifigures and we got Lando, who has a brown skin complexion, which is kind of odd and doesn't really match that the other ones are yellow, because at this time they started doing peach minifigures with Harry Potter. But that whole history is probably for another video. And you just got a whole lot of stuff going on here. I always love this set, and yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes, or that whole sequence. That's probably my favorite. Like the last half of episode 5 is that's like my favorite part of Empire, like the last half at Cloud City and all that stuff. And then we got the Rebel Snowspeeder. This was actually a UCS one, which rumor has it we're getting a UCS one next year. And this was $130, which is pretty big for what it looks like, or a pretty big price for what it looks like. But then again, it was around 1,500 pieces. Star Wars mini bonus pack. There you go. You got a whole bunch of minis in a bonus pack. Then you got more Star Wars minis in 2004, which was, they were all about $7. You got the Star Destroyer, Sith Infiltrator, Imperial Shuttle, ATTE. Then you got the Rebel Snowspeeder. This was actually a set I have. I still have the box for it. And I never really built it. I wish I would have built it. Maybe one day I'll build it. But it came with Dak, Luke, and even a Rebel, a little Hoth Rebel. The Mos Eisley Cantina, which came with the original Greedo, which has those striped little printing on his arms, which makes him super, super rare. This set I always wanted, but I was never able to get, and it was about $30. And you got the X-wing fighter, the only appearance of Yoda's hut. I hope they re-release that soon. It was a cool way to have an X-wing and more to it, a different version of X-wing in a set. So a lot of people love that set just for Yoda's hut. Then you got the new Millennium Falcon, which was based off of the episode 5 scene where they're kind of leaving the Hoth base or whatever. And then you got more polybags, an X-wing fighter, Boba Fett Slave One, which is weird because these are like on the scale of the mini sets, but they're polybags, and but they're promotional. And then you got the TIE Interceptor, more miniatures. And then you got original trilogy edition kind of TIE Fighter and Y-Wing. Basically an updated version of the original set, and the TIE Fighter collection. This was always cool because they came with so many, and a lot of people consider this very rare, but it was only $70 for like 4 different vehicles. Count me in. That's always super, super cool. And the last one was the UCS Y-Wing, which, we never got another UCS Y-Wing, but it was $120, which was actually a pretty good price for what it was. So that's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, so I'll see you guys later.